Good morning, class. This morning we're going to share with you this really awesome way to make snowflakes. Katherine is my first special guest, and she is a snowflake making expert. So, Katherine, if you would talk us through how to make these really cool snowflakes of yours.
Sure. Well, the first thing you need is a square piece of paper. So, if your paper is not already square, you need to make it square.
That's what she's doing right now. She's making a square.
So I folded it into a triangle shape. After I cut this strip off, it will be a triangle shape. And then, when I open it up, it's a square.
Voila!
Okay, but I'm going to leave it folded. And I'm going to fold it in half again, so that it's a smaller triangle. And I'm going to really press down the folds with my fingernails because it's hard to cut through a lot of pieces of paper. And it's easier if the folds are really flat and they're not fighting against your scissors. Now here's the tricky part. I have to fold it into thirds if my snowflake is going to have 6 sides like most real snowflakes seem to have. The snowflake crystal usually has 6 sides. So I'm not pushing the creases down really hard right now because I have to check and see, does it look even? Is it pretty good? And if it looks pretty good, then I'll make the creases sharp with my fingernails, or I could also use a scissors just to make it as flat as I can.
If you had trouble with that thirds fold, feel free to pause the video and replay it.
Yeah, this is the trickiest part. After this, the fun can begin. Right now, I'm going to cut off these extra parts that are sticking up, kind of like fox ears here. We don't need those. Okay, now let's just open it up for a minute to see what we have right now. You don't need to open it up when you're making it, but if you're wondering if it's looking like it's kind of on the right track.
That's great.
It's looking good so far, right? I'm going to fold it back up. Okay. Now, the basic shape of it, if you want it to have 6 big points and 6 little points, you can make one side longer and one side shorter. That's the basic, very basic shape. Before you do anything interesting and creative, if you just do this much, let's open it up and see what it looks like. Now, not all snowflakes have to look like this. They can look like any way you want, but this is one way that turns out well.
That looks really cool.
It's also good for if you're making a star. Okay, now let me fold it back up. I know that's tricky, but so you don't have to actually unfold it in the first place. That's not exactly how it was. So let's see here. It's always good to take it slow and get it just the way you want it. All right. Now I can just start cutting things out of it. As long as I don't cut it in half, it's going to look good no matter what I do. And I find that it often looks nice to have some areas that are more intricate and some areas that are kind of left alone to be more solid. So don't feel like, oh, I didn't cut every possible place on it, so it's not good. Because I think that does make it look good to have some places that you leave alone more and some places that you really cut as much as you can.
Right, and I always tell students that it's important to leave space between your shapes so your snowflakes don't fall apart.
Right, and if it's harder to cut, because I know often kids don't use scissors that are really sharp, like grown-ups often can. So if your scissors are not sharp enough to do things that are really small and close together, then take it easy and make your snips farther apart. I know when I'm using a kid's scissors in my classroom, I have to kind of step it back a little.
Yeah, it's true. They don't cut as well.
And it's hard to cut through this many layers of paper, so... See, I'm never cutting all the way across because then my snowflake would need some tape. Of course.
It's just sad.
You can tape if you need to, but it's, you know.
Right. And if at first you don't succeed, try again. It's not the end of the world.
Well, that's the fun part about snowflakes is it's just the cost of a piece of paper. You can use scrap paper. It doesn't, have to be something where you worry about, oh, I wasted it. You can just make another one.
Yeah, and I've had students that have cut it in half accidentally, and they still like their little bits and pieces.
Sure, I think it's almost done. Now, if I want a hole in the center, I can cut the tip off. Or if I want the tip to be on, I can leave it. I think I'm going to cut the tip off.
Ooh.
I'm going to do it in an interesting way, but you could just snip it across if you want. And then I think I'm going to make one more snip, and then let's open it and see what we have.
I'm excited. Opening the snowflakes is really magical.
All right. How do you think that looks?
I think it looks great.
Let's get some of these snips out of the way for the grand opening.
Ooh.
Grand reveal. All right.
It's going to be so pretty.
So there's half of it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful holiday decoration.
So of course, it looks nice on a darker background. And if you press them in between some books overnight, then it will be nice and flat if you're going to hang it or glue it on something.
This is a wonderful example of radial symmetry. Look how the design is balanced around the center.
And you can see we have the big points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have these smaller points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is just one way that you can make a snowflake.
Okay. Thank you so much, Katherine. This is amazing.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to get lots of inspiration from this.
Have fun making your snowflakes.
Oh, we will. Thank you again. Class dismissed.